Hello, everyone. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Talk about let it snow. We plan to talk with you today about stress and heart disease with our Another View on Health co-host, Dr. Keith Newby. But just like all over Hampton Roads, travel to the station is tough. So instead, we're going to spend the next hour talking about memories that make your mouth water and invoke pleasant thoughts about things in your past. They're called food memories, and our guests will share why these memories help keep us grounded and bring family and friends together. So grab that cup of cocoa and sit back. Another View is next, right after this news from NPR.
Discussing today's topics from an African American perspective, this is Another View.
Good snowy Friday afternoon, everyone. I'm Barbara Ham Lee. Welcome to Another View. I hope you are home safe and warm with all of this snow outside. It was kind of tough for our guests to make it to the studio today, so we reached back in our archive for one of our favorite Another View shows. I want you to do me a favor, and don't do this if you're driving, but if you're sitting somewhere safe, get lost in your memory for just a moment. Close your eyes. Think about this. Think about something pleasant. Now answer this question. Does it involve food? Food memories create tradition. Or does tradition create food memories? We've got three true foodies in our studio to help us sort it all out. Please welcome the founder of Coastal Pies, Regina Brayboy. Hi, Regina.
Hi,
welcome
Barbara.
to the show.
Hey.
And the owners of Now You're Cooking Culinary Institute, Chef Dedra Blount. Hi, Chef.
Hi.
Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
And her twin, Debra Brabson. Hi, Debra. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. I am so good. Now, I want to invite our audience right away to call us at 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Call us and tell us about your favorite food memories. We had a great discussion in our pre-production meeting today, and I want to share too, before I get you all, because I want to ask each of you what your food memory is. So our audio engineer, Victor Bowen, he said every first day of school, his mother made a breakfast casserole. And it was made of broccoli, cheese, and sausage with a bread base. And it was for every first day of school. And so that's a memory that comes back for him. Lisa Godley, our producer, said that her grandma Benny always cooked for Thanksgiving. And that was the time when the entire family came together. And she said the older kids would do puppet shows for the younger kids, and the men would go off and watch football, and it just brought a huge smile to her face. So my favorite food memory is for Christmas morning. My mother started baking German chocolate cakes. And she made everything from scratch, melting the chocolate and the fresh coconut and the whole nine. So the only time we got German chocolate cake was Christmas morning and your birthday. So every Christmas morning we would eat German chocolate cake and bacon for breakfast.
Wow. I'm coming to your house.
I know. And so that just brings back some great memories. So, Regina, what's your favorite food memory?
Well, my favorite food memory is certainly the fact that my mother made great pies, and she also made great rolls. And so it was just a regular tradition for us, particularly on Sundays, holidays, that we always had, great pies, and also we had great rolls. But it's been supplanted by a memory, not really supplanted, but I will add on to the fact that I was with some friends over the weekend down in South Carolina on Kiowa Island, and they talked me into baking pies, and I baked some pies, and these ladies attacked my pies. I mean, I kept saying, the pie is supposed to cool down, and they were ready with their forks, and so that just created such a wonderful food memory for me. But I think the great thing about food memories is that we're constantly creating them all the time. I think which is really wonderful.
Chef Dedra, what's your favorite food memory? I know you cook all the time, but what brings it home to you in terms of?
My grandmother is my culinary inspiration. She's the reason why I do what I do. And she didn't allow many of her grandchildren in the kitchen with her because it was really her sanctuary. But my sister and I would try to get in her kitchen every Saturday night. She would make rolls for the family and then for the big family dinner. And she allowed us to come in and get one ball of dough apiece. And we would play with it and we tried to figure out. She would let us bake it and everything, but we never let it rise, so it was flat and just awkward. We used to call them rock biscuits, you know. And we would just
That's great.
And so even now to this day, I have my grandmother's roll recipe, and it's what I make. But we always go back. We're 4 years old, and that little piece of dough that she let us shape off every Saturday, and we made rock biscuits.
So do you make a rock biscuit now just for
No, those rolls melt in your mouth. I can tell you
It
that
doesn't
right
taste
now.
anything like it did when
wow.
I was 4.
What about you, Debra?
I make the rock
You
biscuits.
make the rock biscuits. But I mean, you all are twins. But do
We
you
are.
have a separate food memory? That
Yes, I do. Dedra does not eat potato salad, and I do. And I'm very particular about it because on Saturday night, my grandmother would make potato salad for the next day. But when we got to her house in Norfolk on 35th Street to pick up the potato salad, it was warm. And I don't eat cold potato salad to this very day because I always ate it warm at her house. I wouldn't eat it on Sunday. I had to have it on Saturday night.
On Saturday night.
So even now, you'll catch me sneaking in the microwave. I don't like cold potato. I just don't like it. But it just reminds me so much of Saturday night at my grandma's house.
Wow.
Yep.
Well, each of you are utilizing your food memories and everything else in your new businesses. And Regina, I have got to ask you, for those in my audience who are unaware, Regina is a business executive. She was our chief operating officer here at WHRO for several years. You used to be at VIT. I mean, you were the corporate guru, and now you're baking pies.
I'm baking pies.
And very well, I
How
might
did
add.
that happen? Tell us. I mean, you're truly following your passion now, aren't you?
It's really about following my passion, and also the whole idea of creating something that's my own. I think that's a neat thing to do. And I just find that when I'm rolling in the dough, it is so relaxing.
Literally rolling in the dough.
in the dough. It is so relaxing. And I really do believe pie is kind of a complete and perfect food because there's so much you can do with pie. I mean, you can take it everywhere from savory to dessert pies. You can do hand pies. You can do pot pies and quiches, and there are just so many different things. It's a very creative food, and I just think it's a wonderful food. And so I really wanted to really bring it back in a way because a lot of us, first of all, I thought everybody grew up eating good pie, and I also thought everybody grew up with really good food. And then you run into people and you realize that's really not true. And a lot of people will say, well, I like pie, but I don't eat the crust. And I'm going, well, you really not had really good pie crust. Because if you have good pie crust, you really go for the crust. And so I just realized there was just so much about pie that I thought, well, we need to do a pie renaissance because pie is really, really good. And I just wanted to be able to create that for people. And every time I mention something to people about pie, it makes them smile. And now when I show up places without a pie, it's not a good thing. So at any rate,
You're the pie lady now, right?
I'm the pie lady.
Yes, you are.
And so my license plate is I do pie. I do pie.
Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that is
And I
great.
called my business Coastal Pies because I just feel like pie is something that is a coast to coast kind of tradition. And I just
because
wanted
everybody loves a good pie.
Everybody loves a good pie,
regardless of what kind.
They really, really do. And so, but it's very difficult to find fresh,
Good pie.
good pie. Where the crust is hand rolled and made. It's very difficult. I mean, you go in the grocery store, it's either frozen or, I don't know. What do they do?
Shortening in there, no butter.
No butter and all that kind of stuff. And so, I mean, it truly, people get amazed when they eat pie that really, comes with fresh crust and fresh ingredients. And I use all fresh ingredients as well. So.
Wow. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Join us and let's talk about your food memories. Carolyn joins us from Columbia, South Carolina. Hi, Carolyn. You're on the air.
Hi, I am so excited to be a part of this radio show or just to listen. I met
Thank
Regina this weekend at the Kiowa Jazz Festival, but my favorite food memory started with sweet potato pies with my grandmother. They were absolutely fabulous, and I thought I would never, ever capture that taste again until I tasted Regina's sweet potato crostata and then her apple crostata. And I tell you, I love my grandmother, and she's gone, but Regina tops that.
Oh, wow. That's a compliment,
Carolyn.
Regina. That's great.
Thank you
Carolyn,
so
let me ask you
much.
something around that, though. What else around that pie? What was the thing, besides the taste of the food, what was the other memory that went with that?
It was so creamy, so sweet. It got everyone talking around the table about just how good it was, and then we said some things that we really shouldn't say on the air about how good it was. But Regina can write it down and pass it around on a piece of paper.
I told her I wasn't going to out her on the air.
That's right. But I'm telling you, she has a club, and I was hesitant before because when she was just talking about it, but we forced her, made her feel really, really bad, so she finally got up from the table playing cards and made the sweet potato crostata. And I'm telling you, I wanted to attack her. I wanted to move next door. I cut a piece, and I brought it home to my children. My granddaughter, who's never met Regina, called her Aunt Regina.
Wow.
My son said, Mom, this is better than yours. And he wasn't even ashamed to say it. But I think it was just the creaminess of it and the crust. Oh, my God. It was just, oh, my God, good.
Oh.
And I just couldn't even stop to even get up. My other friend, Carolyn, kept saying, get up and tell her. I couldn't move.
Well, we appreciate your call, Carolyn, and we appreciate you watching us on anotherviewradio.org. So thank you so much for your call.
Chef, and best of luck to all the ladies sitting there. I'll support them in any way I can. But Regina, you've got my lifelong.
Thanks, Carolyn.
Thank you, Carolyn, for the call. We appreciate that. Chef Dedra, food brings people together, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
So how do you, so if you're not used to, not everybody had a great cook in their family and so forth, but what are some of the ways that we can encourage our listeners to start to create their own food memories?
The best way to create your own food memories is to go into your kitchen and turn your stove on. Cook something. Because food memories, they can't be found in Applebee's or TGI Fridays and places like. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those places and restaurants in general, but growing up, all of us have memories, and we say my mom or my dad or my grandma made that. And what I'm noticing, the kids nowadays don't have that. They don't have anything to kind of cling on to, because cooking is covers all the senses. So it's not just taste, it's sight, it's smell, it's everything. You think the candle market is booming with food scented candles. Well, your house smells like food, but nobody's cooking anything. So if you want your house to smell like food, cook something. And whatever it is, it doesn't matter. If it's only one thing that you make real well, make it. A lot of people don't know how to cook. A lot of women went out over the past 15, 20 years to try to go up the corporate ladder, but nobody was cooking at home. So now their children don't know how to cook, and they're intimidated by it. But I tell my friends, I have one friend, I love her dearly. When I met her, she could make nothing. Now she's got about 5 things, and I told her, make those 5 things until I give you the 6th one. And then you add that in until I give you number 7. But that's what it's all about.
Now, Debra, you run more the business side of the business, but do you cook also?
I do.
So there's such pain in your voice when you say that.
I don't like to. I don't, because I grew up with her. When I was a kid, I didn't even have to make myself a sandwich, because she'd say, I'd make a regular sandwich, and she'd say, heat it up, put some butter on the bread. I don't see you do it. So she fed me, literally. It didn't even matter.
She was the one who could always dress it up a little bit more for you.
Always. If it was whatever it was, she had to put her little spin on it. And my daughters, I have one daughter who is like me, who could care less about cooking. And then my 10-year-old is her child. She will try anything. She is just a foodie. I have to move food away from her, or else she said, Mom, it's just so good. It's just so. I said, Erin, you're going to burst. You're going to burst. She just loves, even as a baby, she would put baby food in her mouth and just move it around.
Wow.
So,
that is great.
But I can cook. She has taught me very well. She went to culinary school, and she loves to teach people what to do, and she's taught me almost everything she knows.
So let's go back to those people who are really intimidated by the kitchen. Give us a sense of what's one simple thing that if you've never cooked before in your life that you can try and have some success.
Okay. Grilled cheese. My one friend, my 5-dish friend, would make grilled cheese for her son, and he didn't know any better, in a microwave. Okay, bread, cheese, folded over in the microwave. He came to my house to stay for a week, and he's never had grilled cheese in the microwave again. So he says, "Mommy, I didn't know you could make grilled cheese and it was brown." So I told her, I said, "Okay, this is very basic. Heat the pan, add the butter, put the bread in, put the cheese in, put the other one over, flip it over. Just try it. Do something different."
What do you think makes people afraid?
I think it's recipes are written for chefs. They're not written for the average everyday person. So, chefs, we like to impress people. So a lot of times we want to make it seem like it's harder than it really is, because if it looks hard, then you won't do it, and I will always have a job.
Food Network also makes people intimidated because they have these chefs in there. They just don't have a regular, ordinary person in there. And so a lot of times I'll
So they
tell
see all
Debra,
the chopping and all the things that are going on. People go, "I can't do that."
and they don't have the fancy knives. They don't know a serrated knife from a butter knife. So, it makes them afraid to even try.
440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Give us a call and let us know what your challenges are in the kitchen. We've got 3 women here who are food experts, foodies, and they can help you in that endeavor. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Danita joins us from Newport News. Hi, Danita, you're on the air.
Good afternoon. Thank you for taking my call. I have a funny story to share about food. My dad would make meatloaf, and I had 3 sisters and my mom, and everybody loved it. But my dad was one of those ones that would come in and out the home and all that kind of stuff. And so one time he left, and I was about 15, and we used to call his meatloaf Yum Yum Meatloaf. That's how good it was. And I said I was going to make it, and I cooked. My mom was really sick, so I would cook. I was like, I'm the oldest daughter, so I always cooked everything when he wasn't there and she couldn't do it. So I decided I'm going to make this meatloaf. Never having made meatloaf before, I make the meatloaf, put it in the oven, get it to the table, and my mom and my sisters are there, and my mom takes a spoonful, and it is the nastiest thing that you can imagine. It is so disgusting. All of us trying to swallow it, but it's gross. And finally, my mom takes a spoonful and just throws it at me. And we have a full-fledged food fight with peas, mashed potatoes, and meatloaf in our kitchen. Forever, I wouldn't make meatloaf ever again. I think I'm 38 now, maybe 4 years ago I tried it, and it was really, really good. So everybody likes my meatloaf now, but when I was 15, it was horrible.
You know what, Danita, that is such a great story, and it reminds me of a story also, because I tried at 10 to bake a cake for my mother's birthday. And I didn't know that you're not supposed to mix self-rising flour with regular flour.
Big difference.
And so it looked so pretty and everything, and everybody took a little bite, and then they just kind of pushed the plates to the side. But you know what we did? About a week later, when we decided to throw the cake away, and when we threw it in the trash can, it went thunk. So I can appreciate what you went through. Thanks for sharing, Danita. We appreciate that so much. Fran joins us from Virginia Beach. Hi, Fran. You're on the air.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I used to teach at Johnson and Wales. Definitely not cooking. I taught English. And one of my assignments was food memories. For them to write about. I taught English. And it was really interesting. Most of the students had remembered, standing next to their grandmother on a stool, and helping cook and learning from the grandmother. But one gal, she talked about what a bad cook her mother was. And figured, and she thought she was a good cook because she put cheese whiz on everything. So it was an interesting assignment for them.
Oh, I can imagine. Regina, what do you do if you are, as you're experimenting with your pies and so forth, and one doesn't turn out quite like you expected to?
Well, I think, first of all, once you get the basic ingredients down, there's no such thing as a bad pie. It may not look the way you want it to look, but the taste is usually excellent. And I've just discovered sometimes, even if I have like a little bit of dough left, I can roll it out and just make a freeform galette or crostata or something like that. So essentially, I I used to, when I first started making pies, you know, I'd roll out the crust, or maybe I was making hand pies and I have some scraps left, and I'd kind of like toss, and I'm going, oh my God, what a mistake. What a mistake. Because you can just take it and create something else with it. And so, you know, I haven't met a bad pie that I have made. So essentially, they're all good.
So okay, give us not without giving away your secrets,
Okay.
and I understand that. but what is the difference between a really good pie and a bad pie? Is there an ingredient that people do or miss?
You know, I think, and Dedra can probably speak to this more as a culinary expert. There are probably 3 or 4 different basic pie crusts that you can make, and once you get those down, everything else is just derivations of what you might want to put in the pie. But if you want to do like a basic pie crust that may be an all butter crust, or you can do a combination of butter, Crisco or something like that, that'll give you a particular type of crust. And then maybe if you're moving more into making more of a crostata or kind of a cookie type crust, then you might go more all butter, or maybe use sour cream, or use cream cheese or something. Just makes the texture a little bit different. But once you get, and I guess kind of the French,
it's the technique.
The French technique mastered. Here's what the ingredients are, and then of course there's a technique of rolling the dough and understanding exactly what temperature the butter needs to be. It's a lot of it. I mean, when you look at most pie crust recipes, I mean, you can pick up probably any really good cookbook, and you'll have some basic pie crust recipes. They're only working with 3 or 4 ingredients,
right?
And
so
the
one
rest
of the
of it
key
is
ingredients is cold water.
Cold water. Believe it or not, cold water.
That makes the difference.
And then the rest of it is kind of learning how to roll the crust out and not beating it up.
Why does cold water make the difference? What is that?
Because most of us and we're attracted to flaky crust. And if the butter's not cold enough, it's not going to be flaky. It's going to kind of mash into it like a cookie. So that cold water, or water with a little bit of ice in it, is going to give you that flakiness in between the flour.
Oh wow! See, there's a tip for you all. Yeah. Our lines are lit up, so let's go to Lori in Chesapeake. Hi, Lori, you're on the air.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey. Yeah. I wanted to share with you guys. My dad had told me about this website. It's called myrecipes.com. And it's great if you need dinner ideas, because every day they email you a dinner idea. And if you're a little intimidated about cooking, they have a video, and it shows you how to make each dinner for each day. And it's really awesome for somebody who wants to try some new dishes but are a little intimidated on ingredients or how to cook certain things. You can just watch the video, and it's great. Every day you get a dinner idea, and if you don't know how to cook it, they step you through it. It's really great.
Okay, what's the website again, Lori?
It's called myrecipes.com, and you sign up for it, and they have different things you can do. I signed up for the daily dinner, and it's great. And I tell you what, most of the dishes I make come from this site because they're really good, usually pretty healthy and easy to fix. And I told my daughter, because I was one of those women that was going to school, working full time, and just making something quick on the go. So I never really, unfortunately, taught her how to cook very well. And I said, well, go to the site, Dominique. You can learn how to cook dinner, too.
Well, let me ask you something, too. Now that you're using the site and so forth, are you more adventuresome in the kitchen? Will you try some things on your own?
Yes, definitely.
There you go.
Just learning different combinations of spices and herbs. And I've even started substituting some of the chicken dishes now with some of the tofu and other things. So I'm definitely getting more daring.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing, Lori. We appreciate that phone call. Chef Dedra, let me ask you a question. Can you give us an idea, if you are a working mom, as she was, or you're out and you're really busy, what's a quick dinner that you can cook, that you can actually come home, get on the table before 10 o'clock at night, and still feed your family something that's homemade as opposed to?
I think one of the most common misconceptions about being a chef is they think that my family eats at this big old spreaded table, this Norman Rockwell type of picture. It's not true. So my life is just as busy as everybody else's. So I run into those same obstacles. I would say whatever your family starch is, if it's rice, pasta, potato, that works fine. Any pasta dish will work fine. Cook some pasta, saute vegetables, and pan-seared chicken breast you can cut up and add to the dish. With me, cooking is not the obstacle. Preparation is the obstacle, because you go to the grocery store with high with high hopes, good intentions, and a full wallet, and you go and you buy all these groceries. You come home, 2 weeks later, you've got rotten vegetables to throw away because you ran out of preparation time. So I think that when people go to the grocery store, when they get home, rest for a few minutes, but then get in there, go ahead and break it into smaller portions, cut up what they can, because it's so much easier just to grab. That's why restaurant food comes out so fast, because it's already prepped. So it doesn't take long at all. So preparation is the key. That Saturday when you go out and get your groceries, come in, chop it up, marinate your chicken breast or whatever. Then that way, putting the meal together is so much quicker.
What was
That's
that
a great
expression
idea.
you said about everything in place?
Mise en place.
Mise en place.
Mise en place. Everything in place. I love it. If you're just joining us, we're talking about food memories with Regina Brayboy, founder and owner of Coastal Pies, and Chef Dedra Blount and her sister Debra Brabson, owners of Now You're Cooking Culinary Institute. 440-2665 or 1-800-940-2240. Give us a call if you have any questions about how to get that dinner on the table. Everything hot at one time. Good. I want to hear that myself. But let's go to Joanne on the Eastern Shore. Oh, they have great food on the Eastern Shore. Hi, Joanne. You're on the air.
Hi there.
Hi.
I'm really enjoying the show.
Thank you.
I wanted to pass along, after listening to the meatloaf story, I have to tell you that my girls, I have 5 daughters, and I would say 4 out of 5 of them have inadvertently made box brownies with olive oil.
Ooh. Oh.
And taken them off to the high school for the basketball team or whatever, and then come home later that night and said, they had to throw all my brownies in the trash because I made them with olive oil. And I said, yeah, did you see it said vegetable oil on that recipe? But anyway, so that was a funny
Okay, I'm curious. What kind of texture does a brownie made in olive oil have?
It's not the texture, it's the taste.
Oh.
Because my husband is Spanish, so we use mostly extra virgin olive oil in our house, and I can tell you that chocolate cannot be redeemed by extra virgin olive oil. It's just appalling. The texture is definitely not the problem.
Wow.
But I wanted to say that, my experience with my mom was she was always so intimidated by other cooks. And I think that, unfortunately, we just tend to pass down our intimidation. So I've decided to go the other extreme. I try new recipes, and then my excuse is, this is a brand new recipe. If it's a disaster, well, what the heck? So it makes me a little bit more adventuresome when I can just say, oh, this is a new recipe. What do you think?
Thanks so much for the call, Joanne. We really appreciate it. Let's go to Bonnie in Chesapeake. Hi, Bonnie. You're on the air.
Hi, thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I just wanted to share a memory. My parents and grandparents have since gone on, and every Thanksgiving, we would usually have it the Sunday after Thanksgiving. And we would get the ham and the turkey and everything on the table, and we would have to take a picture of the table before they would let us eat. And I look back through photo albums now and see the food pictures, and it just kind of makes me giggle that we live to eat instead of ate to live.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that, Bonnie. That is a great story. Carolyn joins us from Chesapeake. Hi, Carolyn. You're on the air.
Hi there. Thank you so much. I love the program, and today's is especially wonderful.
Thank you.
I've loved listening to everyone else's stories. My grandmother, most everyone who's spoken, is the person who I learned to cook from. Mm-hmm. And she used to give me that ball of dough, and I made little people, dough boys as we called them. But I also love hot potato salad. To the lady that likes hot potato salad, mine comes out looking more like mashed potatoes by the time I'm done, and it's wonderful. But my question is, my grandmother used to make the best ever apple turnovers. Her crust was flaky and lovely, and she made it in a skillet on the stove. Now that I have purchased a new stove that has the glass top, I was appalled to learn that you can't use you're not supposed to use cast iron on those stove tops.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, no.
So what can I do to get that wonderful flakiness that my grandmother got with her fried pies now that I have this new so-called improved stove? Sometimes the newest stuff is not the best for cooking.
You're right about that. True. It's beautiful, but it doesn't do the job. I would suggest you can go online and look for a portable butane burner. I think every household should have one. And they range in price from about $20 to about $35. But it takes a little butane canister on the side, comes in its own little case, and you can sit it on a table, and then you can use your cast iron in the household, or you could take it to someone else's house. You can camp with it or whatever. So it gives you the versatility that the new induction and all the other fancy electric ranges won't let you have.
So it allows you to cook over fire.
Yes,
basically.
over direct flame, and it's a little butane burner.
Regina?
You know, one of the things I think is interesting that we've all been in talking about our food memories is we've been talking about our grandmothers. And even though I'm not a grandmother, but I do think it's going to be interesting for the generation that's coming after us when they look back to say, my grandmother made this.
Yes.
You know, what are they going to
What
say?
are they going to say? My grandmother went to the store and bought
We went to
microwaves. Right, exactly.
So I wonder if
That's
we're
a
going to
good point.
lose a lot of food traditions and
Yes,
food
we are.
memories. I mean, is this going to be the generation where, but, you know, maybe that's turning around, but clearly that this could be the lost generation of food memories. You know,
and I hope though with the whole resurgence of the foodie movement, basically, and people paying more attention to buying ingredients close to home and trying to eat healthier and so forth, that hopefully that will bring that next generation along. Even I tell you, it's interesting because I tried to pass on the German chocolate cake and bacon thing to my daughter, who doesn't like coconut or nuts, so that didn't work. But my grandbaby loves it. But again, I didn't cook it. That's Gigi.
all right,
That's
though.
the great grandma. Absolutely. Okay, we have a question from Nick in Yorktown who has some mac and cheese issues. Huh, Nick?
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
I'm trying to. We have every Wednesday night is guinea pig night in our family, and if anybody wants to try a new recipe, you invite them over and you say, okay, here's what we're trying tonight, and we've been looking for a recipe for mac and cheese, but made with pepper jack instead of regular cheese. And I thought, just prepare it the regular way, but my daughter-in-law said, no, because pepper jack is a different kind of cheese than cheddar. It melts entirely differently. You'll ruin it. You have to make a sauce first and all that. So, and we can't find a recipe for mac and cheese using pepper jack anywhere. Now, the second question was my grandmother. I'm 65, by the way, so this goes back. Was Hungarian. She used to make chicken paprikash, and there's part of the recipe requires a roux where you use a little bit of bacon grease, chicken broth, flour, sour cream, and paprika, and you make this roux out of it. And she would just do it like she wasn't even thinking it would come out perfect. And then every time I try and do it, I don't know what I'm going wrong, the heat, or I'm mixing the ingredients in the wrong proportions at the wrong time or whatever, but I have a lot of trouble with just making a roux.
Okay, let's let Chef Dedra give you some help here. She's coming to your rescue.
I'm jumping in my chair.
Okay.
All right, the mac and cheese issue, you don't need a separate recipe because cheddar and pepper jack will melt the same. So what you do is make your mac and cheese, add your pepper jack, add half of it, and just incorporate it little by little. Taste it. If it's not enough, add a little bit more. Instead of dumping it all in. But you don't need any other type of recipe. You just got to experiment with it. Maybe use it for the guinea pig night, so that way you can just kind of add bits and pieces at a time. Now, chicken paprikash recipe. What you're doing wrong, you need to do your bacon grease and your flour together first. Once you get that mixed together, then add your stock to it and the paprika. And then the last thing you want to add is your sour cream. Before you add the sour cream, turn the flame down because real sour cream at high heat is going to separate. So it may taste good, but it doesn't look good. If you are trying to reduce the fat, use reduced fat or fat-free sour cream, which does not separate. So you can take reduced fat or fat-free sour cream and bring it to a boil, and it will still have the same finish. So fat, flour, paprika, stock, sour cream.
Okay, I hope that helps, Nick. Thanks so much for the call. We've got lots of calls. You ladies are really stirring up things. Yeah. I tell you, Carol joins us from Suffolk. Hi, Carol. You're on the air.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great.
Thank you so much for the show. It's wonderful.
Oh, thank you.
I wanted to comment on the comment about our grandmothers and what we might be losing. Unfortunately, I did not have grandmothers that lived anywhere near me to teach me how to cook, and my children also do not. However, you know, we make things like homemade potato soup or homemade chili, and I bring my boys in, and you know, we look at the recipe, and I teach them how to mash the potatoes and how to, you know, put the milk in. So I think that sometimes if we're so spread out geographically these days that maybe it's a good idea for parents to bring their children in and concentrate. I'm a big fan of real food and, you know, cooking from scratch, and it's healthier, it's better for us, it's better for our family as a unit, just for togetherness. And I think that's something that we're losing in this, let's go grab something to eat, let's go to the store and pick up processed foods. So getting back to cooking and cooking together as a family and enjoying a meal, sitting down together as a family, I think is something that we're losing as a society, and it's such a vital piece of memories and family togetherness.
Absolutely.
And family
Absolutely.
Right, and I
Thank
think-
you for sharing that, Carol.
And the
Go
husbands
ahead.
are getting in the kitchen too. So
Yes, they
granddad
are.
might be the one who passes on some food memories.
That is a really good point. Because thank you, Mr. Lee, because if it were not for him, there would be no home cooking in the
Same thing
Lee
for
household.
Mr. Brayboy.
Keith joins us from Chesapeake. Hi, Keith. You're on the air.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Or afternoon.
Yeah.
Everyone it may be.
We're having
Yeah,
such a good time.
I'd like to share my first experience when I was dating my wife with, I think it was Valentine's Day. We were getting together, her daughter, myself, and I think one other person. And she told me I had to make something for dinner. So, you know, I asked her what she liked. She said shrimp, seafood, whatever. And unbeknownst to myself, I said, well, you know, let's try this seafood soup, which we better know as a bisque. And I told her I'd make that, not knowing what type of task I'd undertake.
He picked a really hard one, didn't he?
Yeah, actually, for me it was. So I took and I pretty much did everything the night before and combined it, and then the day of reheated it and finished it. And I'm sitting there thinking, well, I have to look for a new girlfriend after this one. And end up, she married me.
Oh,
yeah, good story.
Hey, well, I got lucky once. But the lady earlier that said she uses my recipes or something .com. That's a really good site. There's another one out there that I came across in the shrimp biscuits where I got it from. Is called allrecipes.com. And the good thing about it is it allows you to set up meals for the week or however. It gives you a shopping list for whatever you're doing. But it also allows you different types of diets, whether you're a diabetic or whatever. And it allows you to adjust the portions. You type in, I seen one in there for 16 people. All you do is change it from 16 to 4, and poof, you now have
It readjusts for you. That's fantastic.
It's really good site. And to let you know, me and my wife fix everything pretty much, use fresh vegetables and everything like that every night. And our dinners take anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour at the very most to cook everything fresh.
Fantastic.
We usually have to cook things for 4 people because it's hard to cook things for 2.
Yeah. And you're in there together spending time. Keith, thanks so much for sharing your food memory. We appreciate that. And since people are mentioning websites and so forth, we can't forget Let's Eat, which is a part of WHRO.org, where we encourage all of you out there to contribute your recipes, contribute your thoughts about cooking. It's a great site where there are all kinds of ideas on ways to prepare foods, to buy fresh vegetables, to figure out how to use a vegetable you've never used before, etc. And I think we have one last call from Heather in Norfolk. Hi, Heather. You're on the air.
Hi. Thanks for taking my call. I was blessed to grow up with grandparents, both grandfathers, grandmothers, mom, dad that cooked. We had big Sunday dinners, and we started Saturday morning for those. We'd make a huge pot of spaghetti and meatballs that would last the entire week. We'd bake a ham, and we'd make sure we had scalloped potatoes and pea soup. We didn't let anything go to waste, and we would make it last. So you'd always have a good home-cooked meal, always leftovers or something with the ham and the peas and the potatoes. But my happiest memory, one of my happiest memories, was, and I'll cry, was going up to Sandy Hook, Connecticut, where unfortunately we had our national tragedy, to my grandmother's cottage that my Swedish grandfather built by hand, and it had an outhouse and everything. And we would go up there, and she would put in a frozen chicken dinner with peas and frozen potatoes, because I peeled so many potatoes in my life, I can't tell you. And those tasted so good to me, rather than fresh potatoes, those frozen ones. We'd sit up and put out a TV tray and watch Florence Welk on her little black and white TV. And thank you for letting me share that.
Oh, that's such a beautiful story.
She was born in 1901, and she lived 89 years.
Wow.
She was born in Prairie du Chien, Wisconsin, and had her babies in Ecolacta, Montana, her 3 daughters, when she was 18. And then she had to move back to Rockford, Illinois, and then they had to move back to Bridgeport, Connecticut, and she didn't like being in the city. So her husband, he died at 60, but he built by hand this little cottage up in Sandy Hook, Connecticut, and she volunteered in the library at that elementary school.
Oh, thank you, Heather, for sharing that.
Yes,
you know, we really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you. But you know, that's what this does. When people come together and families come together, it gives you something to hold on to. Okay, we got about 6 minutes left. So, Regina, I want to talk about your pies again for just a second, because I know that you bake them. I know they're full of really good ingredients. It might not necessarily be diet ingredients, are they?
Well, you know, actually, I really, you know, one of the things that's really good, once you have a really good crust, which I think is the foundation for the pie, I mean, you really don't have to over-depend on, you know, a lot of sugar and all that kind of stuff. I try to make sure I have good spices, you know, use things like orange and lemon zest, so that you're really bringing out the flavor of whether you're using, you know, fruits or vegetables. And I find that that's what really people want, is the, you know, the wonderful flavor. You'll get some sweetness from, you know, every now and then. But, you know, like I said, I'm doing savory pies as well, which can be a lot of vegetables, can be chicken, that type of thing. So really trying to keep it, you know, giving you a range of taste to appeal to.
I want to ask you, Chef Dedra, the one trick to get all the food on the table hot.
For Thanksgiving, are you talking about?
For Thanksgiving.
Well, again,
what is the trick?
Planning is the key. I mean, when I'm getting ready either for parties or for Thanksgiving, you know, I've got a thing that looks like a football playlist with all these different things going at different times. You have to be mindful of, okay, some things don't need to be made that night. I want everybody to be able to come to Thanksgiving. If you're hosting, you should be at the dinner also, not in the kitchen. Yeah, not stuck by yourself. You know, so certain things like partially cooking your ham, or assembling, you know, slicing and assembling casseroles and things like that you can just run back in the oven. Not everyone has the luxury to have more than one oven. You know, so take advantage of every crock pot, roaster, slow cooker that you have, and have them lined up on your counters. You know, put your sauces in one. But I think making things ahead of time, like we have fresh cranberry sauce that I make 2 days ahead of time because it tastes better 2 days later. But you know, that's one of the things that I can make ahead.
And things like greens and
stuffing,
stuff that you could cook ahead of time.
Everything is made from scratch. You know, there is no open a box or open a Glory Green can. We go to the farmer and get the greens, and you know, so it should be next week is going to be the week when people need to start gathering the mise en place and getting everything ready, so that way they know, okay, Monday night do this, Tuesday do this, so that way they're ready.
And they can actually be calm.
And be a part of it.
And Deborah, what are you bringing to the table for
Macaroni
Thanksgiving?
and cheese.
You're doing the mac and cheese.
Always.
Oh, that is her. See, so you do have a specialty.
I do, but I don't like to bring it out. I don't have to.
Everybody has their dish. And whatever you do, if it's one dish, do it well.
Yes.
That's all I ask. Whatever it is, do it well. We don't do low-fat dishes.
No, we don't.
We like real food, because when you eat real food, you don't have to eat a whole lot of it. You know, would you like to have a whole lot of something that's bad? tasting, something that you have to say, oh, it's not that bad. I don't want to eat that's not bad anything. Mm-hmm. I'd rather have a small sliver of something that's so good that I need to close my eyes and just be alone.
That's what was happening in South Carolina. The women
that's what the women were doing. They were closing their eyes and being alone. Now, Debra and Dedra, you do cooking classes?
Yes, cooking
and
classes.
so forth. Tell us a little bit about that so people can find you.
Our responsibility is to help people to learn more about food, teach the kids how to cook, have quality time, couples time. Our website is nowyouarecooking.com.
Now, the letter U, the letter R, cooking.com.
And we do,
and we'll have that on our website at Another View Radio.
Very basic classes. How to sauce 101, how to stir fry vegetables, very basic things that you can customize. So, we really want people to get back in their kitchens and stop using their kitchens as a showplace for really pretty pots and pans. And we want them to cook some food so that our children,
because they're going to be feeding us later.
Yeah, that's my thing.
That is true. They will be feeding us later.
I'm not going to eat ramen in my latter days. I want some filet mignon.
And it is up to us to create these food memories for our kids, just like our grandparents and parents did for us.
What real food tastes like.
Right.
The more and more you live, and the more news you get of what a McRib is made out of, and what a hamburger, that
there has to be an alternative.
Right. And I teach, for a living right now. I teach preschool. And whenever we're talking about vegetables and fruit, they get their fruit and vegetables in a can. But whenever it's something new, I always bring the actual fruit or vegetable with me so they can see what a pineapple looks like. Mm-hmm. And you'd be surprised how many of these children eat out of a can. They have no idea. We talked about chicken. Where are the nuggets? They're like, what?
The chicken pieces instead.
Yeah,
okay.
right.
And Regina, how do people get your pies?
They can certainly email me at rbrayboy@outlook.com. That's a starting point.
Okay.
Coastalpies.com is our website, and that's going to be.
And it's coming up very shortly.
Pardon?
Facebook.
And oh
also
my gosh, I'm on Facebook. Yeah,
yes.
you can friend me on Facebook. And we're also working on shipping because my friends in South Carolina this weekend were like, can you ship to my mother in Texas? And can you ship to me in Los Angeles?
Okay.
And so we're working on that as well.
So we've got Regina Brayboy with Coastal Pies and Chef Dedra Blount and Debra Brabson with Now You're Cooking Culinary Institute. Ladies, thank you so much for joining us. And I know that the food, I'm coming to each one of your houses just to grab a bite. And stay with us, everyone. We'll be right back.
I'm with Marcellus, and you all are checking out Another View on WHRV 89.5. Don't go anywhere. Check us out.
The year Josephine McBride was born, America only had 46 states. Henry Ford rolled out the Model T, and the Wright brothers were able to keep their flying machines in the air for 40 minutes at a time. Yes, the centenarian's life reads like a history book, and she recently shared some of her experiences with our Lisa Godley.
Josephine McBride was 5 years old when Woodrow Wilson was installed as the nation's 28th president.
But we are here to destroy the control over the industry of other people.
By the time she was 12, Calvin Coolidge was running the country and the 19th Amendment had passed, giving women the right to vote.
We shall overcome someday.
It would be another 30 years before the civil rights movement would enable African Americans to actually cast a vote. That legislation was signed into law by President Lyndon B. Johnson. The same year, Josephine McBride turned 56. But the 105-year-old Norfolk resident is quick to point out that the commander-in-chief who's meant the most to her wasn't elected until she was a century old.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear
that I will execute.
Well, I'll say that the president that has meant most to me, of course, President Obama, because I think I never thought that I would live to see a black president, a black man be president. So that has meant more to me than all the others, even though I love Kennedy, Carter, Nixon, not Nixon.
There's no denying that Josephine McBride has seen a lot in her life. She was trained as a nurse at Lincoln Hospital in Durham, North Carolina, and took a nursing position at Norfolk Community Hospital in 1937. She was 29 at the time.
Well, when I was coming along, now, this is a long story, too. When I became a nurse, you didn't have to have your BS or your whatever, the education, other education, your master's or whatnot. Because when you finish, if you were a good nurse, you were just a good nurse, and you didn't have to have all that education.
She says she married late in life.
So I had my babies after I was 35, and I did have twins.
One thing many people don't know about Josephine McBride is that during the Jim Crow era, she once had a Rosa Parks moment of her own.
I did get arrested when I tried to get through the bus and go to he wanted to send me to the back of the bus, and I wouldn't get off. And I was coming into the bus, and the bus, at that time, the bus was full, but I could get in the bus, so why should I get out the bus and go to the back? I had my pass, and you weren't supposed to get off the bus and go to the back and come in the back door anyway.
Josephine McBride's fiery spirit and determination is what caused her to become the oldest person to graduate from Norfolk's Citizens Police Academy at 101 years old. As part of her training, she fired a gun and hit her target.
So after I joined and finished the course, a lot of people finished after me, older people, because they said if I could do it, they could do it too. So they went to the academy and took the training after I did, and it was fun for me. I met a lot of people, and they have continued to be my friend. Since then, they have kept up with me, and it has been fun.
Can't wait to see what Josephine McBride does next. For Another View, I'm Lisa Godley.
Lisa Godley brought us that story a year ago. Mrs. McBride is now 106 years young. Before we leave you on this snowy Friday, let me tell you about an event you won't want to miss. The Norfolk, Virginia Beach chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated will hold its annual Youth Inspirational Breakfast on Saturday, March 14th at 9 in the morning at New Calvary Baptist Church on Virginia Beach Boulevard in Norfolk. This breakfast exposes high school-aged African-American males to career opportunities. The keynote speaker is Major Jermaine L. Jenkins, United States Marine Corps. Tickets are available. Call 499-4949 for more information. We hope you enjoyed our trip down Another View memory lane. If this is the first time you've had a chance to check out our show and you'd like to hear it again, visit anotherviewradio.org and download the podcast. And while you're there, sign up for our eView newsletter, a once-a-week reminder of upcoming programs. And like us on Facebook. Our theme music was composed and performed by Jay Sennett. Lisa Godley is our show producer, and Victor Bowen is our audio engineer. I'm Barbara Ham-Lee. Thanks for listening. Stay safe in the snow. Have a fantastic weekend, and let's get together again next Friday at noon for Another View.